Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to another edition of our NASCAR talks here. We're going to just kind of go into some review of our Kansas race and weekend and look a little bit ahead, just a quick snip ahead to Talladega this weekend. Go through the point standings, go through just a little bit of stuff. And then at the end, had something pop up on my news feed today that I thought was kind of interesting. So not that I agree with it, but I'm going to put it out there. And anybody that wants to hear it or comment on it, please do. And we can discuss it for sure. So jumping into the race weekend, was an exciting race weekend all the way around. Kansas always seems to put on pretty exciting races. So we'll jump in with the O'Reilly Auto Parts recap first, of course. We always start with that. And this was pretty interesting. I was actually late to the start of the race, and I got an alert on my phone, and it said red flag. And I said, what? We're only 2 laps into the race. What is going on? Well, there's a big wreck on the second lap, which one of the guys who I had mentioned in my preview is somebody to watch to win the race. Carson Quapple got spun around and wound up going upside down on his roof, and it's a pretty crazy crash. So he was okay, of course. I mean, these cars are so safe nowadays. But I was just like, well, there went my race prediction. Welcome to the world of NASCAR, where you just don't know. So it went through. It was a pretty standard race. Had a few cautions here and there. wasn't anything real crazy going on. One incident happened, and I'm kind of curious how it's going to play out. Teammates wrecked each other. Jesse Love kind of got the air off the back of the number 21 of Austin Hill, and they're both raced for Richard Childress Racing, and it wound up forcing Austin Hill out of the race. I don't know how that's going to be looked upon. Most race teams do meetings on Monday, competition meetings to follow on the weekend, so I'm sure that was discussed. We'll see if anything more comes from it. I do know Austin Hill was heard on the radio stating, "I'll remember this." Take that for what it's worth. But Austin Hill might want to watch his P's and Q's a little bit, because I know last year he intentionally wrecked the driver and got suspended. So, and then lost all of his playoff points. So we'll see how that plays out this year. But cruising along, I mean, you had your top 3 cars that looked really dominant all night were your Taylor Gray, Sheldon Creed, couldn't think of his name for a minute, and of course, the one that's always in the mix, Justin Allgaier. And it came down to the last stage, and Gray decided to short pit the final stop to get fuel. And by short pit, that is, if you're under green flag, and let's say there's 100 laps in the third stage, and the fuel window opens at lap, you can run 50 laps on a tank of fuel. So maybe at lap, 50, 51, that's not an exact science. These cars can go a couple miles after, past that too. So a couple laps. So 51, 52 laps, but say he pits right at halfway at 50. Well, he comes in, gets his 4 tires, fuel, and he's gone. The other drivers stay out for 2 or 3 laps extra. He is now running about 2 seconds faster per lap than they are. So he starts catching them. When they come to the pit, he goes past them, and now they are 3 seconds behind him when they come out of the pit. So they had to track him down, and they started catching him. Sheldon Creed caught up to him. I thought he was going to get him for the win, but started getting loose behind him, and he just couldn't couldn't catch it and make it. So congrats to Taylor Gray. Won by 0.7 of a second. So we'll look through your results here real quick. Go through the top 10 finishers. Starting at number 10, we'll go with Ryan Sieg. Sam Mayer was 9th. Brandon Jones, who actually, to be honest with you, I forgot about him. Brandon Jones actually probably should have won the race. He won the first 2 stages. His car was rolling. But again, pit issues. He had an uncontrolled tire on the last pit stop. So what that is the tire can't get away from the pit box. There's a certain distance that NASCAR uses. It can't be like more than an arm's length or something like that away from the nearest pit crew member. And it did. It rolled out and the driver got it, but NASCAR had already called it an uncontrolled tire. So when that happens, he had to come back down pit road under green. And it just kind of ruined his finishing position. Still finished 8th, but that's because there wasn't many cars on the lead lap at this point. Cup Series drivers took 7th and 6th, with Cole Custer getting 7th, William Byron getting 6th. Brent Cruz, I'm telling everybody, watch this kid. There is something different about this guy. Jesse Love came in 4th. You see, him and Austin Hill, as I mentioned, got into it, and Austin Hill finished 34th. Let's see, that was Justin Allgaier, Sheldon Creed, Taylor Gray were the top finishers. Taylor Gray winning, of course. Laps led, most laps led was Brandon Jones, led 67 laps, fastest lap of the race. Sheldon Creed ran a 30.83 second lap. So that's pretty fast. 30.83 to go a mile and a half. That's pretty crazy. So that's where we sit with the top 10 finishers there. Let's jump over. We'll look at our point standings for the O'Reilly Series. Get those brought up for everybody here real quick. Let's go. Here we go. All right. The O'Reilly Series. Again, we're going to look at the top 12 here, and we'll start at 12 and work our way up. So 12th is Raja Caruth. He is with 254 points, kind of extended his lead over Ryan Sieg, who sits on the outside of the chase right now, sitting in 13th position. He is, let me see, that'd be 25 points behind Raja Caruth. And Sam Mayer is, let me see, 29 points behind Raja Caruth. He's in 14th. Parker Retzlaff would be in 11th. William Sawalich, Taylor Gray, Austin Hill still in there, even with a 34th place finish. So Carson Kvapil, even with a last place finish, is in. Sammy Smith, Brandon Jones, Corey Day, Jesse Love, Sheldon Creed, and your points leader is none other than Justin Allgaier. He now has a 131 point lead on second place Sheldon Creed. So he's something else. He's dominant. That's for sure. 100% dominant in this. Look over at the Dash for Cash based on our results from last week. The Dash for Cash, as I mentioned before, is a race where the top 4 finishers from the previous week's race at Bristol were eligible for a $100,000 payout at where were we? Kansas. And then the top 4 regular series for the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series, they have to be regulars. Like the Cup guys aren't eligible for this. So your winner of last week's Dash for Cash was Sheldon Creed coming in second place. He won the $100,000 bonus. Congrats to him. The 4 drivers that will be going for it at Talladega are going to be Taylor Gray, Sheldon Creed, Justin Allgaier, and Jesse Love. Those 4 will be the Dash for Cash participants in Talladega, which will be the 3rd race. And then the 4th race, there'll be one more installment after Talladega, which should be at Texas Motor Speedway. Look at their schedule real quick, because they jump off shift. They jump off schedule with the Cup Series. They don't always race where they do. So let's see. We'll go to Talladega this week. Yeah, Texas is their next race. So Texas will be where the last Dash for Cash race happens. So kind of what we, expected at the top. Taylor Gray's been having a pretty good year anyway. The other drivers were there. The one that obviously got involved in the early incident was Carson Kvapil. So that kind of took that there. But Allgaier, it's still Allgaier. To me, he may not win, but if you bet against Justin Allgaier in these Xfinity's or O'Reilly's Auto Parts Series races, you're betting on. It's just on you. So we'll shift our attentions over and we'll jump into the big boys here, the Cup Series. This race was, I don't know, I feel like, sometimes I feel like these reviews are deja vu all over again. Good race. Came down to a restart at the end. You had Denny Hamlin won the first stage, dominated. Kyle Larson won the second stage. And then in the third stage, it was kind of everybody go. And it got a little crazy. There were cars coming. There were cars going. There was traffic. It looked like we had a clear winner. And then we had a car spin out with like 2 laps to go. So brought out the caution, which forced us into overtime. NASCAR overtime is you re-rack the field and you go to the green. You race, you come back, and if there's a wreck before you get to the white flag, then they start it again. And they do that unlimited attempts. But if the leader of the race takes the white flag, then the next flag ends the race. If there's another wreck after that, the race is just over. And NASCAR kind of has issues with that. Sometimes they hold the flag if the wreck is way behind the leaders. Sometimes they throw it. So it's iffy. I lean towards the safety. So if they throw the caution, they throw the caution. So there's a lot of debate about that. Sometimes people think they're too soon. Some think they're not soon enough. So, but as Deja Vu has spoke, for the 5th time this year, Tyler Reddick took that number 45 car for 2311 Racing, and that restart in the overtime, he held on. Kyle Larson, I thought was going to have a shot at him, just it didn't materialize, and he held on. It was, if it comes down to the end of these races and he's in the mix, I'm just going to start voting. He's probably going to win. It's just like everything parts for him and the seas open and he just right there to the lead. Not that that's what happened in this one. Don't get it misconstrued. He took the lead. He drove his butt off. But the winning margin here was 0.118 seconds. So almost 0.12 of a second. Or I guess, we'll call it 1/10 of a second. We'll round down. So some little interesting nuggets out of this. Reddick is the first driver since Dale Earnhardt Sr. in 1987, and the 4th driver all time to win 5 of the first 9 races. That's hard to do, especially nowadays where the cars are so even that it's just that's a little back then, cars were, let's just say, tinkered with a little more. So it was a little bit different, but now the cars are so even. Um, got our quote from Michael Jordan, one of the co-owners who owns the team with Denny Hamlin, 2311. He said he's just on fire. He's been in person for all of his. He doesn't know how he can ever get him to cool down. He's unbelievable. He's just. This is crazy hearing this coming from six-time NBA, widely considered the greatest basketball player of all time. He's in shock at what's going on. He's just like, this is crazy. On a positive note, our buddy here, Ryan Blaney, finished 21st. Now you're thinking, what is positive here? Well, the pit crew had their quickest pit stops of the season. And that was his biggest issue, was his pit crew. And they turned in their fastest stops of the season, didn't have any issues on pit road. So that's a plus for Ryan Blaney. He may not be happy with a 21st place finish, but he's happy his pit crew did better. So we're going to take the silver linings. I'd give you silver linings on my driver, but there just isn't any right now. So we're just going to skip that for this week. Let's go check out our top 10 finishers. We're going to start in 10th here. Chris Buescher. You got to love Chris Buescher. Prosper, Texas. Finished 10th. RFK was like the only Ford that manufacturer team that did anything. Austin Cindric, he had a decent run. Front Row Motorsports had a car up in the top 20, but RFK had all three of their cars in the top 11. Ryan Preece was 11th. Chris Buescher was 10th. Last week's winner, Ty Gibbs, was 9th. Chase Elliott, 8th. William Byron, 7th. The Brad Keselowski, part owner of RFK Racing, he's the K. Bubba Wallace, Denny Hamlin, Chase Briscoe, Kyle Larson, 2nd, and Tyler Reddick, 1st. Who led the most laps? Let me see. Denny Hamlin led 131. That's probably going to be by far the most. Yep. Fastest lap was actually turned in by the guy who finished 20th, Christopher Bell, ran a 29.93 second lap. So, I mentioned it on the preview of this. This track is dominated by Toyotas. I don't know why. They have figured something out at Kansas. That's not saying they're going to win every race at Kansas, but they have got something figured out on this track. They had they had half of the top 10 were Toyotas. And then you had 3 Chevrolets and 2 Fords. So, like I said, I don't know what it is, but for the past few years, when you go to Kansas, lean Toyota drivers if you're looking for fantasy rosters and stuff. So, your Toyota drivers are just, I just don't get what they do there. And it's crazy because, NASCAR teams now have all this SMT data that they can see everything from other teams. So you would think that they would be able to figure out other teams would, hey, well, this is what they're doing. Let's do it. Then again, maybe that model, maybe that style, maybe the Mustang doesn't like those setups. Maybe the Chevrolets don't like those setups. So, like I said, it's such a fine line. It's a tweak here and a tweak there and a turn there and a twist there. And it's just one little bitty and it's over. So, we'll go look at our point standings. I bet somebody could guess who's leading the points. I could throw that out there as a trivia question. And you may not have ever watched a NASCAR race, but if you've watched this podcast, you would know who's leading the points. So with the Cup Series, we're going to go all the way down to 16th place due to that's how many drivers enter the chase. Then we'll look at 16th, which is Daniel Suarez. Shane Van Gisbergen, we'll mention him real quick. He's in 18th right now. I told everybody he was starting to fall back. He started off strong, but I knew the ovals were going to be kind of an issue. But we do have some road courses coming up, so he'll probably climb back up. He just has to stay close to that cut line. So if you want to look at 18th to 16th, that would be 32 points behind 16th is Van Gisbergen. Austin Cindric is 13 points behind Daniel Suarez in 16th. So those are your next two at the cut line for the chase. 15th place would be Chase Briscoe, Joey Logano, Ryan Preece, Carson Hocevar, Chris Buescher, and Christopher Bell rounds out up to number 10. Brad Keselowski, Bubba Wallace in 8th, William Byron, Chase Elliott, Kyle Larson, Ty Gibbs, Ryan Blaney slipped down to 3rd this week with his 21st place finish. Denny Hamlin leapfrogged him. And then, of course, Tyler Reddick. So in your manufacturer hunt for going into the chase, we'll keep an eye on this. Let's see. We got 1, 2, 3, 4. We got 5 Fords. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Chevrolets, which means we must have 6 Toyotas. So that's pretty balanced. That's a good balance going into the chase for manufacturers. Obviously, that can change at any minute. Like I mentioned, Austin Cindric is right there. So you could wind up with, 6 Fords, 6 Toyotas, and 4 Chevys. So there's still a long way to go. We're only through race 9. We have 17 more races in the regular season before we cruise on to the chase format. So this is just a quick look ahead of what's coming up this week. I'll be back on later on in the week. I'm not exactly sure what day with my Talladega preview. This will be a pretty intense preview. Talladega is huge. I mean, heck, there was a movie named after it. There's a country song written after it. It's just a big, big, big fun track. And a couple of things I'm going to mention here that we're going to really delve into on the preview is they're changing the stages. And if you've watched recent races at Daytona and Talladega before, it's pretty boring in the beginning. It's a lot of fuel saving. And they do that so that as they get closer to the end of the race, they don't have to waste as much time on pit road putting fuel in. Very rarely are they changing tires. They may change right sides. They may change left sides. They very rarely will change all 4 under green. The tires don't really wear out too much there. So, but they're gonna try something different. Almost every race since stage have come in has been the first stage is shorter than the second stage, which is shorter, and the third stage is the longest. Well, that's going to flip. They're going to go the longest stage at, I think it's 98 laps. Yeah, 98 laps for the first stage. And then the second and third stages are going to be 45 laps, which is right on the edge of a fuel window. So they should be able to push full bore on the last 2 stages, which is what we want. I don't want to sit there, and watch them. And people that are maybe trying to get into the sport and hear about Talladega, you're like, well, this is boring. They're just riding in a circle all the time. Well, it may be like that at the beginning of Talladega. I'm not going to lie there. Like I said, we'll get more into it, but it's going to be pretty interesting to watch. So we'll see how that goes. Talladega should be a three series weekend. Let's see. I'm going to go check the truck series. The truck series. Yep. Truck series is on. Well, that's never mind. I jump back to the Cup series. Cup series is Sunday. Obviously, the O'Reilly Auto Parts series is Saturday. And let's see the truck series real quick. Nope, trucks aren't racing there. So just two series again. ARCA might race there. I need to check. I don't really keep too many tabs with that one. But that's just kind of what we're going to look at for the weekend. We'll have, like I said, some pretty good stuff coming with Talladega. Lots of projections. We'll go into some of the craziness, things like that. So one thing that popped up on my news feed was there's been a bunch of complaining going on. And if you look back at Bristol a couple of weeks ago, the stands looked pretty empty, to be honest with you. Now, part of that is Bristol has two races, and everybody focuses a lot on the night race at Bristol in the fall, which, again, phenomenal. 10 out of 10 stars. But people are starting to question if it's because of the cost of the tickets. Well, if you watch, my previous episodes of my beginner series, there's ways to get free tickets. Now, right now, pretty much all the Cup Series tickets are sold out on the free app. So, but you could get O'Reilly's Auto Parts or Craftsman Truck Series tickets, which isn't bad if it's your first event to kind of go get a feel of how things are. But there's fans saying that the cost of ticket prices is way too high. You're pricing people out of going to the race, and I don't agree. You can get good seats. You may not have the best view of somebody way up at the top of the track where the seats are more expensive, but if you're like midway, you're going to see a good amount of what's going on, and you can get those tickets based on the track and how early you buy them and whatever. I've seen them 60, 50, something around there. It's definitely cheaper than the only thing that might be cheaper would maybe be like a baseball game. But they have 162 games in a season, so their prices are a little different. But like a football game, if you want to sit really, really good seats, you're going to pay. The difference is, while let's say you buy $100 tickets, and it's you and your friend or your wife or girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever, you and one other person. So that's $200. Parking is typically free at most tracks. You don't have to pay for that. A lot of tracks, check before you go, will allow you to bring your own cooler with your own drinks, your own food in. Some don't, some do. That's why I say check the website. NASCAR Tracks app has all the information of the track you're going to that you can look up. So you don't have to spend astronomical amounts on food. One thing that is, and before I jump into that, the gentleman who's I say the person, because I don't remember if it was a guy or a lady or for a man, so we'll just say the person. Went to the Daytona 500 and it was $267 each. Well, that's the Super Bowl of NASCAR. Okay. Tell me you can get tickets in the nosebleed at the Super Bowl for $267. So I get 267, but I looked at Daytona 500 tickets. There were some that were a lot cheaper than $267. So, it's not that you had to pay that. You paid that, and that's fine. But if you're going to pay that, knowing that there's options that are cheaper, you shouldn't complain about the cost. This guy wasn't. He's saying $80 is a deal. He said those were the least expensive tickets he could find for the Daytona 500. I can tell him that's not true because I saw tickets cheaper. Travel cost, yeah, that's a big cost. That is, depending on where you live. Myself, I'm in Ohio. So I have Michigan a couple hours away. I have Indy a couple hours away. Bristol is about a 5.5, 6 hour drive. Charlotte's 8. So these are, day trips, not day trips. I'm not going to go to the race and drive back. Don't get me wrong on that, but
weekend getaway.
Yeah, I can leave on a Friday, drive down, get a hotel for Friday, Saturday, Sunday, check out Monday. You could even get the hotel, less time than that based on when you wanted to get there. You could book your hotel for Saturday, Sunday, Monday, or just Sunday, Monday, whatever you want to do. I will say hotels are massively expensive around race time. I will not lie about that. That one thing that does bother me. But again, they're businesses. They know there's a demand, so they're going to bump their cost. So,
but you don't have to stay that close either. You just have to learn how to
right. As my wife said, you don't even have to stay that close to the track if you don't want. The further out you stay, obviously, the better. You're just gonna have to drive. But the good thing about it too is NASCAR releases their schedule around November-ish for the next year. And if you know you want to go to a race and you plan it, you can go on a travel app, a booking, hotels.com, look for hotels, book them. Some of them give you the option to pay when you get there. So you have a whole year to save money for the hotel. What? My wife was going to say something, but
it's forgot. All about budgeting and planning.
Yeah, she said it's budgeting and planning. We do that. When we get tickets, when we have the tickets, I bought the tickets to the Martinsville race. We immediately went in and I booked hotels. Booked hotels that said pay at hotel. Fine. So we had from December is when I booked it until, when was the race? End of March, to just put money aside for it through those, months. But if you're not going to go to a race till June and the schedule in November, you've got all the way till June to save money.
Get the app, get your free tickets.
Well, yeah, get free tickets if you can, but they're sold out right now.
Okay, but I'm just saying, use the app to get the free tickets. Don't stay right at the track. Stay a little bit further out. And then budget the trip so that you have plenty of time to put money away.
I mean, that's exactly what we do. We know exactly how much the hotel is going to cost us before we get there. We know, okay, well, Charlotte or whatever is going to take me a couple of tanks of gas. So that's this, food, whatever. I mean,
it's no more expensive than a regular vacation. If you're going to take your family to Disney, you don't wait till the day before you go to decide you need that kind of money.
That's true. I mean, it's just like any other family vacation.
Don't get me started.
You don't just up and go to Disney World.
I mean, I would.
Yeah, but you don't just up and go. You don't just up and say, "Oh, we have an extra $6,000. Let's go to Disney World." It just doesn't happen that way. And if it does, feel free to subscribe to my channel. I can go Cash App, whatever y'all want. Um, but if you budget it out right, you can make it work. Like I said, you'll know the schedule months ahead of time, so you have plenty of time to play it out. Now, I mean, depending on where you are, I get it. On the East Coast, it's a lot easier to get to some places because there's a lot of tracks over there. Somebody out on the West Coast, okay. But I mean, even if you're in California, you've got 2 races a year in Phoenix, 2 races a year in Las Vegas. You've got Sonoma up in wine country. And then you've got this year, you've got the San Diego race on the naval base. And in the middle, in the Midwest, you got Kansas, Iowa, Texas, St. Louis, Chicagoland, Indianapolis. So there's tracks you can get to. It's just budgeting and making it work. If you really want to go, you have plenty of time. Plus, again, even if you get free tickets to the Truck Series race, that's free tickets. That's one less expense on that trip you have to worry about. So, lodging and food costs were another complaint, which we mentioned. But food costs, I mean, when you go on vacation, don't you go out to eat anyway? So what's the difference? I mean, when you go out of town for a weekend to the beach or wherever you go, do you not go out to eat? Do you not try new things? I mean, so I don't get that. Lodging, yes. Food costs, not so much. And to be honest with you, if you want to, you could book one of these hotels that has a kitchen in it, and you could just cook your own food every night. I mean, there's options. I don't understand it. And they're saying we would be able to spend more on merchandise and stuff if the prices were so low. Okay. I mean, merchandise is merchandise. It's expensive no matter. I don't care if you go to a Blue Jackets hockey game, a professional football game, a baseball, concerts. Merchandise is not cheap. So here nor there with that. You want cheap merchandise? Go to the race shops over near Charlotte, and a lot of times they have clearance racks. It might be last year's item, but so what? I got a last year's Josh Berry playoff T-shirt for $10. I don't care that it's last year. Nobody knows I bought it. Well, now everybody knows I bought it this year, but I mean.
But if the race people aren't stopping you and saying, hey, when did you buy that?
Yeah, that's the thing. I changed into it that day, and nobody said, hey, did you buy that this year? So you can get into it all you want. I don't agree with it that it's astronomically overpriced. I think it's very reasonable for what you get when you factor in all of the access to the drivers and all that stuff. I factor it in to it's very, very cost effective for a family to go to. And if you've got kids, most of the time, a lot of tracks, kids under, I think 10 get in free. And then even kids up to I think 16. Sometimes you can get tickets for $10 for them. I mean, so I can take it for what it's worth. Make your own decision, of course. If you agree that, costs are, and if you want to know more about cost, feel free to comment, like, share, subscribe to this channel, whatever, comment on it and let me know. And I'll let you know what an average trip to a race would cost us to go. Again, I'm going to a race. Okay. I'm going to be walking around sweaty. I'm not really worried about staying at the Omni Hotel or the 5-star luxury hotel in that area. I want a place I can come in after being out all day, fall over, and go to sleep.
And that doesn't have bugs.
So take that. That is, but that's always high on the list.
For me, anyway.
But, even then, after being there and walking all day, I'm not even sure if bugs would bother me. My wife, she would have an issue. But I'm okay with it. I'd probably be like, whatever, just get off me, bro. So that's just one of those things. You don't have to stay at the fancy ritzy hotels, and I mean, I'm not saying stay at some bargain basement inn thing, but
I don't know that one. We stayed in Martinsville.
But we stayed at one in Martinsville. What was it? It was
I call it the murder motel.
Well,
the travel lodge.
My wife calls them the murder motel. Any of you crime junkies out there will know what she's talking about. But it was in a Econo Lodge.
No, it was a travel lodge.
No, was it Travel Lodge? Okay,
Yeah.
Travel Lodge. I'm going to tell you what, I thought it was better than the La Quinta we stayed in, and it was probably.
The bed was more comfortable.
Where did we stay at where did we stay at in Charlotte? Hampton? Yeah. We stayed at a Hampton in Charlotte, and to be honest, the Travel Lodge was just as good.
It was actually better.
If not better. So,
the bed was better.
Again, we're not,
Your trip is only going to cost as much as you plan it to cost.
Yeah. I mean,
if you want to stay at an Omni and eat at Ruth Chris's for dinner, then you're going to pay out the nose.
Yeah, if you're staying at an Omni or hell, even a Holiday Inn Express at this point, and going out to eat at these fancy 5-star steakhouses, yeah, you're going to spend more. I'm a NASCAR guy. Give me a greasy burger and a pizza before, after, during, and I'm fine. I don't need steak, and I don't need, all that. Give me I'll go try. We went to Lancaster's Barbecue in Mooresville. I highly recommend. But we always look for the mom and pop type restaurants. They're not overpriced. It's good food. So, if you're complaining about the cost, you might want to look at how you're doing things. But I can get you, if you told me your budget to go to a NASCAR race and where you live, I could probably get you in under your budget. As long as you don't give me like $150 budget. But let's say you said my budget's $800. I could probably make that work based on where you live. So just, kind of rub me the wrong way a little bit. Hopefully some of y'all that watch this will tune in and give me your thoughts on it, or anything else we talked about, point standing, question, Talladega, whatever. Any questions you have about the sport. So other than that, y'all see we have a bunch of channels scrolling down here at the bottom. The WTP Sports Dudes, WTP for Life, Level Up Sports 10, Parlay Poe of the Blitzburg podcast, Post Game with the Post Game 86 podcast, WTP for Life scrolling again. He's trying to monopolize the market, I think. City League TV on Facebook, One Take Zaya. I'm SEC Sean, of course. We have WTP Sports Dudes on Facebook groups. It's also got a webpage, WTPSportsDudes.com. You can also find me. I normally drop some stuff on TikTok. I've got a Patreon account where, we'll do giveaways for any paid subscribers that join. We can get into some more exclusive content over there. Just, different avenues to find me. You can pretty much find me anywhere under SEC Sean. And like I said, like, subscribe, share. Doesn't cost anything to do any of that. And then if you got questions or just some comments about what you heard tonight, drop them. I'll respond to everything that I get, that I see, or as soon as I see it, I'm responding to it and letting people know. I'm definitely be engaged with y'all. So other than that, y'all have a good evening, and we will talk later this week when we get ready to break into Talladega.